If you love fall and miniatures just as much as I do, then stick around for today's video. We are going to be DIYing a little fall miniature scene for my windowsill. My name is Jacqueline, and this is Craftin' with Jacqueline. I am starting off with this mat to lay down on the very base of this little scene, and this mat was $29.99 from Michaels, but it was in the spring section and they are 70% off right now. So I got this mat for around $9, and I am just going to cut this in half so that it can fit alongside my windowsill, and it can give me a little bit of extra length, so I just need the one. And then once I've got it cut down to the size that I want, I am taking some of these little hay bales and some floral moss from Dollar Tree, as well as this glue that I also get from Dollar Tree. It's just some tacky glue. And I'm going to lay down some of this Spanish moss on top of that tacky glue, on top of the little greenery mat that I got. And then once I got enough down for one side, I am then just going to stick some of the hay bales down as well. I'm not sure if right now you can guess what I am going for, but this next little bit should give you a better idea. I took this pine cone little pack that I got also from Michaels, and it comes with these beautiful little pieces. I'm pretty sure they were just meant for like to smell good, and they do smell really good. They're like a cinnamony, like pumpkin spice kind of smell, but they look like miniature pumpkins. So I used this pack and I took out all of the little pumpkins, and I am going to glue those down just with the tacky glue as well. You could definitely use hot glue, but I think the tacky glue works perfectly fine for these ones. And I am just going to add a bunch of these little pumpkins to the little hay and little section right here. I'm kind of going for the like a pumpkin patch kind of vibe. And then I'm going to add a little bit more of the floral moss. And then I'm going to add a little pathway just with a pack of little rocks that I also got from the spring miniature section from Michaels. And then right here you can also see that I did add a second section for the walkway of just pumpkins on the other side, just so that they are on both sides of this little walkway. And I'm kind of making it so that it's like a little walkway into a pumpkin patch. And then once the rock path is complete, I added a little bit more glue and some of the moss in between the little rocks, just to give it a little bit more of a messy look. Although I'm not sure that I should have done this. I think it looked a little better without the messy look. But what do you guys think? Should I have left the rocks just plain, or do we like the fact that I made it a little bit more realistic with the moss kind of coming through the rocks? I then just took some of this straw that I also got from Dollar Tree. It's just some loose straw and or like hay, and I glued some of those to the barrels just to make it look a little bit more realistic for that too. Although the hay is a little bit thicker, or the straw is a little thicker than what was already down there, but that's okay. I think it gave it kind of a more realistic look. Now, I do think this would be really cute with a little sign on the back or front of this little walkway that says, "Welcome to the pumpkin patch," but I did not have time to do it for this one. And then here is how it looks all decorated on my windowsill. I added the fence and tools from Hobby Lobby and a couple little things like the watering pail and things like that. And then I also added the little scarecrow and those hay bales from Dollar Tree. This next DIY is super easy. It's one of these trees that I got from Hobby Lobby. It just has a little tire swing on it, and I wanted to make it a little bit more fall. So I grabbed some of this foliage, just some autumn foliage from Hobby Lobby as well. I think this is like in their miniature landscaping area. And then I just took some of that glue and I'm going to spread it around with a little paintbrush to give it more of a thin layer around the entire top of the bushes, just because I think it would look really cool to have this more of those fall colors versus the bright green. So then I just sprinkle this little foliage on top of it throughout the entire thing. And then I also did the bottom of the tree branches or the leaf part. And then I also don't forget to do the like extra little branches that have some of that greenery as well, just to make everything look more fall colors and kind of like they have the fall leaves. Once that first layer was done, I went back through and just made sure that if there was any green showing, I added a little bit more glue and a little bit more of that foliage. And then once all the top was done, I thought the bottom kind of still looked like a toy, with the top looking more like natural, I guess, kind of ish. And the bottom was very bright green as well. So I just went through and put some more glue down and then added some of that floral moss from earlier and added that to the base of this just to give it more of that realistic look. Not that a fall fairy mini garden on my windowsill needs to really look realistic, but it's kind of fun. So I think it gives it more of the natural look, and I think it's fun to have that. I do think this would be really cute in a little playground area of the fairy garden with maybe a seesaw or like a picnic table added next to it. So I may do that next year, but for right now, it is just added to the little pumpkin patch area. Okay, and this next DIY is actually what started this in the first place. I saw this picture on Pinterest of a miniature river, just for like with resin. And I was like, you know what? I can make something like that. It definitely did not turn out even close, but I first started off with just some of this glossy cardstock and I cut out the shape of the like little lake that I'm going to make, and I thought it was going to be kind of cute to do on like the very end of the windowsill. So it's kind of like got a blunt edge on both sides. I just did the size of the windowsill itself, so that it can actually fit. And then I just cut out kind of like a lake looking design, and then I made it skinny on the one side so that the bridge could that I got from Hobby Lobby could actually stay on that side, and go across the river, kind of like bridges are supposed to. And then I picked up all of these rocks just from my yard. I've got so many rocks in my yard, it's ridiculous. So I just went through and picked all of the good ones. I think I did actually end up picking some of these rocks on a walk that I took with my dog. I had to go pick up a couple branches from a local park, and I think I did pick up some of these rocks there too. But basically, I just found a bunch of rocks around my neighborhood, and I'm going to be gluing those along the river and lake to kind of give like a barrier to the river so that the resin does not go through. And I am using hot glue to glue these down to the cardboard or cardstock. And I am just using the Gorilla Glue. I recommend this more than using like the Dollar Tree glue, just because it will stick a lot better to the rocks, so that you're not falling apart and this whole thing can be really sturdy together. Although the resin will help, once we do that portion to get them all to stick together. We kind of want the glue to stick really well too, so that the resin doesn't seep through, although we may be having a problem with that down the road anyways, because I'm pretty sure I mixed my Gorilla Glue and my Dollar Tree hot glue together, and I'm pretty sure that's why I've got sections of this glue that are super white, and right there you could see that that piece fell off. So obviously I did not follow my own advice and I used some of the Dollar Tree glue, but I definitely recommend some of the Gorilla Glue that sticks a little bit better. But basically I am just gluing these rocks all the way around and just kind of finding where they will fit around to each other so that hopefully there's not too many gaps, to have the resin slip through. And then once I got to this end, I did glue another piece of that cardstock to the very edge of this, and then I just folded it over and glued it to the rocks to give it a little bit of a lip so that the resin doesn't fall through this side, but also so that I can keep it really flush with the wall, or in this case, this will be next to the blinds. So just so that I can keep it really close, and the rock, like if I was to put a rock there, it wasn't going to be quite as flush with the wall. And for the resin section, I did one part A and one part B. And I just am going to do a little bit for this first section of the resin, because I don't want it to be too thick. And I do want just a thin layer to start out with. And so I'm going to start out with just a little bit of each of those, just one part each. And then I'm going to be mixing those. And I did put the rocks and um, cardboard or cardstock down on a little piece of plastic. This is just an old container that I had. This is actually from old ornaments, but I just have this container, so I just put the um, lake, I guess we can call it that, down on that. And then I'm just mixing those two parts, and I added a little bit of some coloring to that. And then I'm also going to be adding some of this blue mica powder to give it that color that I really liked for this lake. And then once I've got the resin all mixed and the color that I want, I'll go ahead and add the bottom layer to the little lake that we've got. And seriously, I think this is so gorgeous. I really wish that this would dry just the way you put it down, because I really do think that mica powder just makes this look absolutely stunning. And it's kind of frustrating that it doesn't look exactly like it does right now when it dries, but that's okay. Once I've got quite a bit of it down, I wanted to cover up some of those glue spots, and I did think it looked kind of cool with as if the resin or the water was splashing up on the rocks. So I just added a little bit of the resin to the rock and glue marks. And then as you can see right here, the resin absolutely spilled through because the glue I had in the sections did not keep it from spilling out. So that little plastic piece was absolutely incredible. And I took this off of that little plastic piece before it fully cured. Um, I thought it would be easier to take off and use all of this little pieces that had dried up if I did it before it fully cured and was super, super hard. So I took it off probably about 12, maybe 15 hours in, so it wasn't fully cured yet. And I am just going to be ripping this off with a little X-Acto knife, going around the edges and kind of cleaning those up. And then I am using all these extra pieces. I'm just going to put some of them back into the lake, and then adding my next layer of resin on top of that. So it kind of like gets enveloped with the next layer. And then some of them I will show you what I do with here in a minute. But I am first just going to take off all of those extra pieces. Okay, and then here is where I'm going to be using this larger piece that I was able to cut off just from one edge. And I'm going to make a little waterfall coming down of one of the open edges of this lake. I thought this would be really cool just because of the mistake that came out. I think it kind of is a little happy accident, because I think this turned out really cool to have like a little waterfall coming down. And I never would have thought to do this if this didn't happen. So I think this is a perfect little mistake that happened, and I think it's perfect. And because I didn't let this fully cure, this made it really easy to bend all of this resin. And so I'm just going to be using some of this hot glue and bending it into the shape that I want, and then hot gluing it down to the base and to the rocks. And now that I am ready for my second layer of resin, I took this little fishing little piece from Hobby Lobby, and I took all these miniature pieces, and a couple of them are fish, and I thought this would be perfect to put inside of the little lake. So I took one of them and I took a little bit of hot glue and glued him down to the base just so that he would be secure for when I pour the next layer of resin down. And then I just poured the next layer of resin down all around, and just kind of went around the little fish just so that it's kind of more in the water. I wanted it to kind of just be a tiny bit poking through. I do think it would be kind of cute to have it all the way down, or if I had way more fish, I think it would be way cute to do a bunch of them, just kind of like floating around. And then I left quite a bit of the resin left in that cup, and I left it for probably about, I would say, about 20 minutes for this little section. And I just went through and added a little bit more of that resin to the waterfall so that it kind of dripped down. And then I waited about another 10, 15 minutes to get it to this point right here where it's really thick and just kind of almost cured. And that way it would very slowly drip down and give it more of a realistic look of like the water dripping down from the rocks and from the little waterfall itself. And here is the final look of the little miniature lake river thing. I think it honestly turned out super cool, and I'm actually pretty proud of this. I think it's adorable. But what do you guys think? Okay, and this next one is a little fairy tree house, I want to say. It's kind of like a little fairy house that's resembles a tree house or of sorts. So I went through and on the little walk with my dog, I picked up a bunch of these little branches and I am just going to use some little wire cutters. I'm not sure if this dulls my wire cutters by cutting branches, but I am using them and I'm just going to cut them down to size. I did about like probably 1.5 to 2 inches, and I just wanted to make them a little bit different sizes all around, not fully the exact same and uniform, which is why I don't fully measure them all, just because I thought it would be kind of cute to have them a little staggered. And then I'm just going to use this little wooden piece and glue these sticks down to this all the way around this little wooden circle. And I'm just using hot glue to do this. And then once all of these sticks are glued around, it kind of resembles like a little hut or little cave like thing. That will be the little tree house. And I'm also just going to wrap a little piece of, this one's just wire, but it definitely doesn't need to be wire, just some kind of rope that makes it look like there's not glue attached to each piece. And instead it kind of looks a little bit more like something they could make, little fairies. So I just added that, just using a little bit more glue. And for the base of this little tree house, I am taking one of these little ornament things. I believe they're ornaments. I'm not really sure exactly what they are, but I got them from Hobby Lobby during Christmas time and I had a couple left over. So I'm just going to use that and one of these little branches again. I'm going to cut it down to size. And then I'm going to use quite a bit of hot glue to keep it steady. I'm just doing a little bit right now, but then I realized, oh duh, I need quite a bit more. And then I'm just going to hold it there for quite a while I let it dry and stay, just because I am going to have to put that little piece that we made previously right on top of this, just with this one stick. So I do need it to be kind of sturdy. And I'm just going to also use some of that floral moss down below against the entire base of this, just to kind of hide some of that hot glue look. And I think it's just kind of cute, gives it kind of that look that it's on the ground. And then once we've got all of that, I am just going to add quite a bit of hot glue to the base of that top and to the little stick again, and then add a little bit of moss to that as well. And again, I'm going to have to hold that in place so that it does not fall over. Right here, I'm obviously testing out way too soon and realizing, oh yeah, I will need to hold it there for quite a bit longer so that the glue fully dries. But once it dries, it is pretty sturdy and it looks really cute in the little fairy garden. And I do think it would be really cute with like a small little ladder going all the way from the bottom to the top. But what do you guys think? Should I make one out of thread or nah? Okay, and for this last one, I thought this would be so cute and a creative idea. and I saved it for last because it's not actually my favorite. But you guys tell me what you think. Usually the saying is save the best for last, but I'm not sure on this one. Okay, so I took some of the pampas grass that you can get from Dollar Tree. They also sell this at Michael's. And I took one of those Dollar Tree little houses that looks like it's got like hay on the top. And I'm just unrolling this little pampas grass and I'm going to be hot gluing these pieces down to the top of the roof to kind of give it that look of the actual like real life hay or grass on the top. I think maybe it's the color that's throwing me off on this one, or maybe the length of the grass that I did. I'm not sure. I really do think it's the color because I do think I was trying to go for that fall color, so I really thought this one would be really cute. But I do kind of think it's giving like Chucky or just I don't know. Not what I was hoping for. But what do you guys think? Let me know if this was actually a complete fail, like I kind of think it is. But maybe it's awesome and I am just overthinking it, which I usually do. But anyways, I'm just going through and doing layers of the little grass on top of this roof. And right there you see me use a little bit of paintbrush. I have some glue in water. It's just like a tiny bit of glue in water to kind of like straighten out or like flatten out the little bristles or the little hay, I guess, pampas grass a little further down without having to use glue directly, like the hot glue. Okay, let me know what you guys think of this one. Is it absolutely scary like I think it is? Or is it kind of cute? Should I paint the top layer or fully take it off? What are we thinking? Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Give me a thumbs up if you did. It greatly appreciated. It really helps my channel. But also, here is a little mini tour of our fairy garden.